Cool. Well, it was a good turnout. I think it would be cool to start off by maybe everyone just going around and I'll start it off. Just maybe one thing that you find meditation brings you that's really positive, and then maybe one thing that's really difficult about the practice of meditation. And then I wanted to kick it over to Gio to see if he has any insightful questions because I think Gio has the most experience practicing meditation. Maybe Jared and Gio are pretty close in that regard, but I think it would be really interesting to hear their take too. So I'll kick it off, and then anyone else that wants to go after me is more than welcome to. I think for me, I find the most impactful thing about meditation is that it brings me a lot of self-awareness, where if I don't do it, I kind of get, it's really easy to lose track of focus. It's also really easy for me to lose track of like any sort of empathy that I have towards other people. It's easy to just get like absorbed in myself and my ego. So that's kind of like the most impactful thing for me in practicing meditation. I think the most difficult part for me is actually practicing it, like actually doing it every day. It sounds like it's simple, you just sit there with your eyes closed, right, and try not to think about anything or think about your breath or just try to clear your mind. But it's actually way more difficult than it sounds. So for me, just practicing it and kind of like doing those mental reps of like, when your mind starts to drift off, like to bring it back. I don't have too much practice under my belt. Definitely less than like 1,000 hours of meditation. I haven't been doing it for too long. So for me, it's still a work in progress just to sit there for 10 minutes and try to clear my mind. That's probably the most difficult thing for me.
I think meditation is it's endless. You will learn your entire life. Your life you will keep learning from it. It's endless.
I think it's really important to distinguish the difference between understanding the concepts that are discussed and actually practicing. So a lot of times, you know, you'll read something or you'll have a discussion and it'll click, and then you mistake that for actually having practiced it. But the lessons you learn through practice are almost unable to be fully voiced through words. So I think it's just important to differentiate the difference between hearing, reading, or discussing topics and actually like practicing and experiencing lessons.
Yeah. What do you find most valuable from meditating?
So I think that there's kind of two separate like values. There's kind of like an energetic side of things, and there's like a practical side of things. I think at an energetic level, like that's kind of a deeper level. By focusing on like feeling certain emotions and like peace and joy and love and happiness, it actually allows your brain to think the thoughts you need to make the right steps in your life. I think from a practical level, we live in a time where there's so much information and we're so addicted to scrolling and seeing different things and getting hit with pings and checking our phones and have such short attention spans that simply the practice of sitting and being aware allows you to focus more thoroughly and be more present in what you work on. And I think that being able to, clear your mind and sit allows you to understand what you're feeling. So, a term that we like to say all the time is ambient anxiety or ambient discomfort. You got so much going on, you don't know why you don't feel okay. But when you sit, like when you're there, the things that are causing you to feel that way, they kind of bubble to the surface. And then you realize what it is that's making you feel that way. And then you can take action, whether this could be something simple like, oh, I need to put air in my tires. Or it could be something much more complicated like, oh, I need to forgive my father. Like it could be like so many different things. But sometimes you don't know what's making you feel that way. But I think there's many different valuable things, not to get too deep just right off the bat, but Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, it's almost like you're processing your mental inbox. Like you have all these unprocessed thoughts, like an unread, like all these unread emails in your inbox that you don't get to actually think through and process until you sit there with them.
Yeah. Actually, so I'm reading a book. I'll tell you guys about it at some point if you want. And it exactly the way Jared just described it, and you read, it actually compared the human mind, the way most people experience their mind, to a marketplace where there is 1,000 people talking at the same time, and everybody's trying to get their opinion across. Nobody really understands each other. And a lot of the opinions are, they conflict with each other. So that, I feel like that causes a lot of, and most people who are just just confused. The reason a lot of people don't know what they want is because there's parts of their mind that literally want the opposite things, and most of the time you're not even aware of this at all, that this is going on. These just 1,000 opinions and thoughts and feelings about all these unresolved issues. You put it really well. So yeah, meditation, one of the many benefits, one of them is obviously increasing your awareness, being aware of all these different thoughts and feelings, and either resolving them or quieting them, and just bringing peace to the marketplace. Otherwise, nobody, you're just so confused and conflicted about everything.
Clear your mind and clear your thoughts. Yeah, agreed. This is something that I realized was extremely powerful about meditation. Is you can hack your mind, or you can pretty much just go deep and find the root issue and then try to fix it. I can dive into it a little more, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. But like, I used to have a lot of anxiety, maybe like 5 years ago, like a lot. And obviously, when you talk around to your family and friends, the first thing is like, oh, you gotta see a doctor, you gotta take pills, you gotta take medication. And straight up, I was like, no, that's not what I want. I don't want that. That's not an issue for me. This is covering an issue. It's probably helping me because it's covering an issue, but it's not fixing the issue. And since the start, I told everyone I don't want to do that. And then I tried a bunch of stuff, nothing worked. And then one day, somehow, I don't know why, I got to this meditation book. I got a book about meditation, and I read I read through it, and then I started to apply those, whatever was in the book, to teach you how to relax and really try to regain control of your thoughts and your brain and stuff like that. And it was insane, man. After a year, it took me a while though. It took me a year to really, like, meditate, clear your thoughts, and then get to the root of your issue, and then fix it, and then change your mind. Let's say like you have an accident, and then you're going to be traumatized every time you get into a car. So you need to like, you shock your brain pretty much. You shock your brain about a certain event, and now you need to rewire your brain to tell him that this is okay. It's not a threat anymore. It used to be a threat because you had an accident, but now it's not anymore. So it took me a year, but I think it was so worth it, because now I don't have to take meditation. Whenever this, part of my life happen again, it's so easy. It just passed by, like within seconds, without any anxiety or issues or anything like that. And that was the first part. Then I realized, I'm like, okay, if I can do that, what else can I do? And then I did even more meditation, and then I went even deeper in my mind. I went deeper to remove all the stuff that were issues for me, like having feelings. I know feelings is great, but like, I did not want to have feelings back in the day, because feeling was causing me a lot of issues, because I had goals in mind. I had goals about like my professional life and stuff like that I wanted to achieve. So feelings was an issue back then. So again, did some meditation, changed the way I was thinking stuff and stuff like that. And then I was able to control my emotions. And then I kept going on and on and on and on. Every issues I had in life, hack it. It's not that easy, but it's possible.
Yeah.
I think it's really
So
important to even be able to have this conversation, like understand the conversation. You have to be able to understand the concept that that there's a separation between your body, your mind, and your true self or your soul or whatever you want to call it. Because your mind could be your best friend or your worst enemy. It's a tool. But like when you're sitting in meditation, one cool thing to practice that actually like for me at least lets me kind of get deeper and like understand more. This is like a practical tip is to think about like who is the voice in your head? Because it's not you, right? If you could perceive it, if you could hear it, then it's not you. It's something else. So who is watching the voice in your head? Who is hearing the voice in your head? That's your true self. And if you could connect yourself to that, that's the present. When you can connect yourself to the thing that's listening to the voice in your head, that's the present. And there's no attachment to like wanting or not wanting something. So I think understanding that concept is really important at a baseline to be able to get into these deeper conversations.
Yeah. If you have no concept of it if you don't sit with your own thoughts. Like the analogy that Gio used, I think is super interesting of this marketplace. It's just your thoughts are just like they even can contradict each other, right? All the time. They're just constantly, it's literally like 1,000 different people are arguing with each other, and if you don't actually take a second to stop and try to process it, it creates this ambient anxiety that you have. You don't know why. That's why I think is probably the most powerful thing that I've found about meditation is you actually get a chance to process those thoughts. And like Jared said, it's not actually you. It's something else, right? It's this voice inside your head that's talking. And if you don't take a second out of your day to process those thoughts, it just creates that ambient anxiety.
And the
is it
voice
like
spirals out of control too. Like
Yeah.
especially like, so I think it's so important to bring things back to the basics and talk about these things now more than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago, because there's more information than ever before and there's more conflicting information than ever before. And we're more manipulated by media, social media, the news than we ever were before, because there's more advanced algorithms and smarter people working on manipulating you than there ever were before. So like bringing back those old practices, quieting your mind and not allowing yourself to get pulled in a million different directions with conflicting thoughts that cause stress and anxiety that then cause you not be able to take the action you take because you're stressed. I think like in today's day and age and moving forward, I think more people are going to start to become aware that meditation and these types of conversations and practices are necessary as a means to be able to live life and accomplish anything.
completely agreed?
100%.
But Dean, you did you just recently start practicing meditation?
Yeah, I could share some insight. First of all, I mean, listening to you guys talk about this is so fascinating, and I come from a place where meditation and the idea of it was pretty new to me, and so first off, I've been fortunate enough, as you guys know, to be able to work on the Jared's podcast, The Modern Soul. So having to edit those and listen to Jared talk with these mental experts has been extremely beneficial for me in understanding what meditation actually was. One of the things that I wanted to address was that question, what is meditation? Because in my head, my preconceived notion, if you asked me this question last year, was you had to set a 15-minute timer, sit down, close your eyes, and clear your mind. That's all I knew about it. But what I realized was that meditation is really just the idea of getting your mind from a jumbled, scattered, disorganized space into a concise, prepared, and strong space. And so that could be sitting down for 30 seconds, closing your eyes and taking 3 big deep breaths. That could be, like Jared says, you know, sitting in a sauna for an hour or his meditation room. It's really whatever it is. And it varies day to day to get you to that, you know, that place. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
You
Kennedy,
can do so much with meditation. That's like the base, but it's insane. Like the like all the types of meditation that you can do. I haven't experienced most of them. I know Gio experienced a bunch of them that he recommended it to me. But it's infinite, man. It's crazy. Sorry, Birad.
No worries. Kennedy, what's your experience in practicing meditation?
I was really fortunate to grow up in a family that was like very spiritually minded. So I remember my mom making me meditate before I knew what that word meant when I was like 7. And like sitting me down and making me find 5 things in the room I can touch and 4 things in the room that are green or whatever, just a way to calm my brain in like a more like a way for children, obviously, like very different. So I've always been like very exposed to the concept of mindfulness and meditation. But I think in my adulthood, it's definitely taken a lot of different routes. I'm not one to really sit. I can't really sit still for very long. And so I found movement-based meditation, like the best way for me to clear my mind. And what I mean by that is running without headphones or hiking on your own or something where you're deprived of all of these sensory stimulating things we usually add to those routines. But when you take them away, you're kind of forced to, I guess, address whatever is coming up for you head on mentally. And I found that's the best way for me to, I guess, clear my head and clear my mind, but also clear yourself physically because you're kind of expending all of this energy that might be pent up and things like that. So that's kind of where I typically meditate. I've tried the routes of sitting in the morning for 10 minutes. I did transcendental meditation for like 3 years. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but it's gnarly. It's a lot of time in silence. And I found myself being more of a perfectionist on how to meditate right than actually just enjoying the process of meditation. So yeah, I mean, it looks different for everyone, but typically I like to do something active to make sure that I'm clearing my mind.
Yeah, that is a really good way to do it sometimes, whatever that is to you. Like for me, like I can, if you do something a lot, it's so you could sort of like sink into this zone of meditation where you're not thinking about anything but that thing, and that's almost a meditation in and of itself. Like if you're running, right, or if you're hiking. For me, it's hitting golf balls. Like I've hit millions of golf balls, so for me at this point, it's just like I don't have to. I'm only thinking about that if I'm doing that. There's nothing else that I'm thinking about. There's nothing else in my mind. So for me, that's a form of moving meditation. So I think you could find whatever that is and do it. I think that's probably an easier, it's a totally different version of it, but you're not necessarily processing, for me, when I do it, I'm not necessarily processing all the other things in my life, but I am clearing my mind. That's for sure.
They always called like the millennial generation, like the mindfulness generation. Like we put so much emphasis on mental health, which I think is great. But I've noticed that mental health has also kind of become a fad in the same way. I mean, there have been thousands upon hundreds of thousands of companies literally just founded off of the fad of being mentally healthy. And so I remember when I started seeing ads for things like Headspace or other meditative modalities, every single one decided to market themselves as the right way to meditate. And, I think it did a disservice to the concept of mindfulness and meditation because people get caught up in doing it the right way or not being able to do it at all, or being too perfect. And if you are meditating actively and your brain trails off, that's so normal. But I've found a lot of people close to me view that as like, oh, I suck at meditation, I can't be mindful, I'm just going to move on from it, instead of really just honing in on whatever works best for you. So it's been interesting to watch that.
Yeah. So
I think it's one of the big. Sorry, Birad. I was going to say to Kennedy. I think it's one of the big issue I've seen to my friends and surrounding. Like everyone says that meditation is hard or it's not for me. It's not that. It's just like it's the same as any sport or gym or golf or surfing. Like you need to practice to get good at it. It's not like you sit there, close your eyes, and that's it. It's easy. It's very hard. You need to train your mind to focus and get good at meditation, and it takes time. Same as gym, like growing a muscle. You don't do that like after a day or two or a week. You sort of grow your muscle after a few weeks and months, and it's the same principle with meditation as well. But people don't get that, I think.
I think it's important to stress that like consistency allows you to figure out the mental cues that get you into meditating is a state that you get into. And some days it's harder than others. Some days you're right in it. But consistency builds up that ability to get deeper in that state. And then you come to realize that there's infinity that you can go into in that state. And it's really hard to verbalize it. There's some books that have done a good job, writing to be able to understand what presence is and the infinite possibilities of your mind. I mean, there's even books and studies that prove that you can heal your body with your mind. If you guys have ever seen the documentary Heal, or ever read any of Dr. Joe Dispenza's stuff, I do his meditations regularly. It's kind of like a cross between meditation and hypnotherapy because you're following along, but it definitely helps you get to that deeper state. And it's pretty incredible. They're not even thoughts. They're like realizations that you get. Like sometimes when I have like one of these really deep realizations while meditating, I'll write down like a sentence that'll cue me to be able to remember what that realization was. And then I'll go back and read it like 2-3 weeks later. I'm like, how did I come to this sentence? Like, what does this sentence mean? But in the moment, it made perfect sense. And that just proves that like discussing these things doesn't do it service. Experiencing it is the only way to really understand.
Actually, I have a question for you guys, if that's cool. So it's kind of I guess a really tough question to answer, but how do you distinguish between like not being in meditation in that state that you're referring to, Jared, and being in that state? Because oftentimes when I try and sit down for a 15-20 minute meditation, I feel like I spend the majority of that time bouncing back and forth from awareness of my breathing and my consciousness, and then falling back out of it, and then trying to continually bounce back and forth into meditative state. And then next thing I know, my timer's going off and it's time to start the day. So do you guys have any insight on that?
So I'll just say something real quick. We live in a time now where we are lucky that there are a lot of tools that help you get into a state like that. But the simple desire to get in that state also means that you have an attachment to being in that state, which means that you're attached to not being in that state. So when you're not in it, you're feeling disappointment, which takes you further out of that state. So just the ability of letting go the need to get into any state at all allows you to get into the state, and not being disappointed by not feeling like you're in that state is key, which is hard, right? Because you want an outcome, but the key is to actually not need an outcome. And that's what I've been able to get really deep, is like letting go of my desire for an outcome.
That's so interesting, because it's like the effort to get into that state is actually counterintuitive towards being in that state of meditation. If that makes sense. At least that's what I'm like getting from.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share with you guys the most important lesson I've ever learned about meditation, especially in the beginning, is that you never want to judge your meditation. That's the single most important thing. Like after you finish your meditation, you never want to analyze how good it was or how bad it was, compare it to anything. You know, you never want to think about it ever again, pretty much. And there's a difference between your intention, right? Because your intention is to get in that state, which actually your intention doesn't technically come from your mind, but it's your mind that wants to be in that state. So it's you intend to be in it without thinking about it. It's you get into a lot of these paradoxes when you try to meditate.
Yeah, I actually think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned or gained, I guess I would say, from meditation is the detachment from any sort of desired outcome for anything in life, because at the end of the day, you really have very little control over the outcome of anything. You can you can work hard and you can do things to try and achieve certain outcomes in your life, but there are so many other factors that go into all of these different things that you really have no control over the outcome of any of them. You could take advantage of opportunities, but all those different opportunities are the result of an infinite amount of things that are outside of your control, essentially. And so, like the detachment from any sort of desire for any sort of outcome, and the acceptance of any sort of outcome of the things that are happening around you is my biggest takeaway.
But that doesn't that doesn't mean like, you know, you should just be a bum and like not care what happens in your life. It actually means like the paradox is that, and I say this all the time, like for people that are looking to be more successful in business, they're so focused on the outcomes. Like, what do I need to do to make this happen? And like you said, Brad, like there's infinite things that could happen that make almost everything out of your control. So take that focus and focus more on who you need to be. So like you need to be more present, right? Or you need to be more compassionate, or you need to be happier or funnier or whatever it is, like who you need to be. And then all the other things kind of fall into place. And like all your interactions cause things to happen better than you would have expected them to happen. Still out of your control. It's still not going to be how you expect. But if you could be the best version of yourself every day, again, you have no control over what's going to happen, and your expectations are either going to be met, they're not going to be met, or they're going to be exceeded. And if you could focus on who you need to be every single day, be that best version of yourself, do the things you know you need to do for yourself, you normally exceed those expectations. That's at least been my experience in business when I get stressed, because there's a lot going on, and it's like, how do you control everything? You can't. You literally can't.
Yeah.
You just have to go with the flow. Yeah.
You can only control who you are.
If I can give like some advice, obviously like all those advice we give to you guys, they I guess we give them because they work for us, but it might not work for you. So you gotta try to see which one works the best. And something that I've mastered, I think now, because again I've done lots of meditation onto that, is I don't have any expectation in anything in life whatsoever about today, tomorrow. Like I think it's a big thing in the world. It's like everyone has expectation. Whenever you meet a girl, that girl is, I mean, obviously not everyone is like that, but like it's what happened the most to me, at least for now. Whenever you meet someone, that person instantly expect that and that and that and that from you. But obviously you're not in that mind, you're not in her mind, so this will never happen. And then they get cranky, and then you start to have like all those issues. So this is what I've been teaching like everyone around me. Don't have expectation. Expectation is what creates anger, because life is chaotic. It might happen, it might not happen. So don't create expectation, just live life right now. And that's something that really, really changed my whole entire life. It's not easy. But once you start to understand that, oh, it's absolutely amazing to never have expectation. I'm happy every day because I'm not expecting anything. So everything that happens to me, take it positively,
Yeah.
and you will have great outcome.
The expectations or your desire for expected outcome is all you're doing is setting yourself up for disappointment, because
Exactly.
that outcome is essentially not in your control, because you have some influence on it. There are so many other factors that could lead to it. It's almost negative in in twofold, because now you're expecting a certain outcome that you don't really have control over, right? So you're setting yourself up to be disappointed. You're also not open and aware to all the other potential opportunities that are around you, because you're only focused on that one outcome, right?
Exactly. You're creating that future in your mind that did not happen and might not happen, which is bad. I mean, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
that's what the ego likes to do. Create these like virtual realities that don't exist at all. And the more you cling to them, the more unhappy you're probably going to be, because that reality is extremely far from what's actually true. So yeah, one of the greatest things meditation definitely does is letting go. So okay, I'll tell you guys, these books that I'm reading, they're called The Four Agreements, and the fifth agreement is the one I'm reading right now. I literally could not recommend them anymore. They're one of the greatest books. I'm actually reading the fourth one. I just read it for the second or maybe third time because of how good it was. They're explaining basically, I mean, there's a lot to it because it's a spiritual book, so there's a very deep meaning to everything in it. But it explains how, when you're born, right, as a little baby, your mind is clean, you're pure, right? All you want to do is, you don't care about, you're not scared of the future, you're not worried about anything, you're not ashamed of the past, right? You live in the present and you just enjoy life, you just express yourself. Everything is art, pretty much. So that's your mental state is pure when you're a child. But then when you grow up, the world, your parents, school, everybody around you, your friends, the world teaches you so many things about what life is, what you should be like, what you should want. Like 99% of the things that are in most people's heads are pretty much false. They're lies that are based on just false images that the society has about everything. And that's what causes a lot of unhappiness, because you're trying to live up to an image of yourself that doesn't exist. The image of perfection that most people have in their heads is just completely based on lies. So that's one of the things meditation does, is it lets you let go of all these concepts that are completely blocking your true happiness and expression of your true self.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Gio.
No, go for it.
That was beautiful.
I wanted to go off of what you were saying. It's like basically another way of saying what you're saying is every little experience you've had in your life shapes your reality. And your reality is not reality. It's just your view on the world. And there's infinite little points that create your view on the world. And it actually changes the meaning that you give to circumstances in your life. So you may have had experience in your life that make you think one certain way. And now a circumstance, I'll give an example. In my personal life, my grandma passed away and my grandpa got remarried to a woman in our family that, and my mom, had animosity because she's like, she can't replace my mom, blah, blah, blah. And every circumstance she was giving meaning to that could have been on multiple ends of the spectrum. For example, my grandpa is disabled, so, driving is tough for him. So when his new wife's like, you know, he shouldn't drive, you could look at it in totally like on one side of the spectrum, you know, she loves him, cares for him, is looking out for him. On the opposite side of the spectrum, you know, she's emasculating him, she's taking away his freedom. In the middle, it's like, she's just, you know, he shouldn't drive, right? And my mom kept falling on the one end of the spectrum of like, this is, you know, horrible. And it's because of her experiences. It's not her fault. That's just her reality. Her reality is that this woman was doing bad things to her father. But that's not reality. Reality, we don't know what's going on in her head or her reasoning. But any situation or any circumstance that you have, your view on it, you got to understand is not actual reality. It's just your view based on your experiences and the meaning that you give to that circumstance.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's an infinite amount of ways you could see every situation, right? That's that's a perfect example of that. If you're looking for the bad, you're gonna find it. If you're looking for the good, you're gonna find it.
We live in a crazy place, man, a crazy universe. Just to touch back on, I know we went like really like far, like deep into this conversation, which by the way I loved, man. That was like what Gio said was beautiful, and Jared as well. It was amazing. By the way, Gio, I would love if you can share that book. I'm definitely interested to read it. It sounds amazing. I have one feedback. I mean, one tip for you, Dean, because I know you're starting the meditation, and something that I found, you know, it was working really well for me. It's you know, I was the same as you at first. Like whenever I started to do the meditation, I was focusing on my breath, and then you go back into your thoughts, and then you go back. You just keep like, you know, moving back and forth like that, which is annoying. Something that worked for me is I visualize my breath. I visualize things. So, for example, like whenever I breathe into my meditation, I visualize in my head that the air is coming through my head into my stomach. It does like a loop and it goes back up. And if you keep your hair inside you for a while, it does like a loop and then it leaves your body. So you just visualize it. And that helped me to go deeper in my meditation and also focus more. And I think, Jared, I think I learned that, sorry, from Joe Dispenza. I think Joe Dispenza is teaching that in his book about like you need to visualize your meditation, and especially when you need to heal your body, which I've done, by the way. And I don't know if it's true or what, but it worked. I had a back issue at some point in my life, and I was doing a lot of meditation onto that at that point to like try maybe I was clearing the energy. Maybe I had like you know, energy being blocked, and by doing this visualization where I had pain, I released that energy. I'm not sure. I don't know, but it did work.
Nice.
I think it's really fascinating, and I appreciate the tip, Luca. It's
Try
fascinating.
it out, yeah.
Definitely. It's like our whole life where we're programmed to gauge like cause and effect. In business, if I do this, was the outcome positive or negative? Sports, fitness, anything. And so hearing you guys talk about the best type of meditation, like Gio mentioned, don't judge your meditation. How are you able to gauge your improvement in meditation and your ability to meditate?
That's a good question. So the changes that I've experienced in my mind over the last about a year and a half of meditating have been completely mind-blowing. So I started meditating about a year and a half ago, and at the time I had a point of just feeling super anxious at one point. There was just a lot going on. We had so much stuff to do. When I first started on Zendrop, we had so many bugs. I mean, there were hundreds of bugs. And every time I started to fix one, I would discover 10 more. And it was the most ridiculous thing. My mind was trying to go in like 100 different places. So I had a period of maybe a couple weeks when I was just starting to feel really anxious, to a point where it was really hard to eat even cereal sometimes. I would try to eat cereal, and then my mind would try to go in 100 directions, and I would literally have to stop and lie down on my bed for a little while and finish eating cereal later. That's how crazy it was.
Hectic.
and my mind was so distracted that I couldn't actually read quietly. Like I couldn't sit down and read quietly. All my reading I had to do aloud. Like I literally had to read aloud to myself. That's how distracted my mind was. And then I started meditating, and man, Dean, it's so yeah, without judging it, you're not gauging progress, right, on a daily basis or a weekly basis or even really monthly. But then the most important thing which Jared touched on a little bit is consistency, right? You do it, you make it part of your routine, you do it every day. Right now I'm doing twice a day for half an hour each. The greatest times in my experience to meditate is the first thing in the morning after waking up, before you have breakfast. So like my morning routine is wake up, shower, meditate. Showering is also really helpful to get rid of like energetical toxicity from your aura. So it's really helpful to shower before you meditate because you have a clean aura, which makes it actually easier to meditate. And then the second time is like toward the evening, like around sunset time after work, is also a really good time to meditate. Or after working out and showering, then when you meditate, that's like the greatest time. Because working out also, I learned this earlier this year, when you work out, apparently, it also, besides working out your physical body, you're also working out your subtle physical body, which is and like an energetical body that you have around your physical body. You're also cleaning the aura from your subtle physical body by working out. So if you meditate after working out and showering, that's like one of the greatest times. And yeah, so you make it part of your routine. You have to do it every single day. It's kind of like breathing. You have breakfast, you meditate before you have breakfast. Part of your routine, you just do it every day. No expectation, like Lucas touched on. That's a very important part of it. You don't expect anything. Your intention is just to sit and stop thoughts, right? Or focus. There's many different types of meditation. The type I'm doing is chakra meditation. So you're focusing on your chakras, which are the energy centers in your body, up your spine. So I'm focusing on my chakras, or whatever. It's Headspace, obviously, really easy way to start meditating before you have any experience, because focusing without being guided at first is a little difficult. So yeah, you make it part of your routine. You sit down, you have the intention to focus, and you just do it every day. No expectation of outcome. You never judge it. You just do it. And then when you look back, later, and you realize, over the last month or two, you will see dramatic just progress and change, because really meditation is life, right? It affects everything that you do. You're training your mind. It affects everything. It affects the rest of your day, your focus. When you're working, you're better able to focus on work and what's the most important thing, to do. It affects the rest of your day. It affects everything, even sleep.
I think
are you listening to anything when you meditate, Gio, like music or?
Yeah, there's special like meditation music that you
anything specific that you recommend? I put on meditation music as well, but I don't know what kind of stuff you listen to.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you one of the albums that I use right now.
Dean, I think a really good analogy for seeing progress is it's similar to, like, if you're trying to change your body composition, whether you're trying to pack on muscle, whether you're trying to lose weight, it doesn't the workout that you did today doesn't matter if it was a good one or a bad one. If you come back and do another workout again tomorrow, and then another one the next day, and another one the next day, and your nutrition's on point, and you're doing all the things that you need to do to reach the goal, the day-to-day is almost inconsequential. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's about the consistency, right? And then 2 months or 3 months later, you're going to see those results from the compounding effects of you doing it every day. So I think that's one of the best analogies that I can come up with for seeing the progress.
Yeah, and what you said is very accurate. Like it's I think it should be mandatory at school, for example, to learn more about the body and the mind. Like, because once you gain control about it, like your entire life will change. You will never be stressed at work. You will be very well organized. Like, everything that Gio said is very accurate, and I've experienced it as well, and it is true. Like, once you start being good at meditation, like, your whole life changes for the better, like much better. And I have a question for you guys, actually, like, because that's what I've been trying to do for the past month now, and it's getting hard. I mean, it's hard. How do you guys focus on the present? And by that, I mean, how do you, like, for example, today I was walking at the beach, and I was trying really hard to don't think and just focus on the nature and the energy around me, like looking at the sun, looking at the waves, and that's it, and not be distracted, and literally every 10 seconds back in my mind. And it's sort of annoying because I gain most of my joy in life from nature, and at the moment it's been very hard. So do you guys have any tips on how can you be present in terms of, like, on the outside world?
Yeah, I actually think it's crazy that none of this is taught in school at all. It's not even not taught. It's not even mentioned as something that's a possibility, which is crazy to me. I think to answer your question, I don't know if this is a good answer, but I don't think that at least I've never experienced a state where you're just fully able to be present without your mind wandering into something else, right? I think that's just the nature of the mind. And I think the more you bring yourself back to the present, the longer you're sort of able to stay in it. It's like if you work on bench press, right? You start with a low weight, you go to the gym, next week you might be able to do a little bit more. The week after you might be able to do a little bit more. And you're just able to kind of stay in that state for a little bit longer because you're building those mental reps of finding that present state over and over again. You're always going to get pulled out of it, but I think you're able to stay in a little bit longer the more you practice it.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find a way to practice so I can not completely eradicate it, because obviously I don't think you can. And I don't think it's good as well. Everything in life is about balance. I'm just trying to be more present, not entirely present, but just more. Like, or at least when I decide to, like, I want right now to have a moment just in nature. That's it. And yeah, I've been struggling lately. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think at least what's helped me is to be as organized as possible. I think, especially with what we're doing and trying to build a big company from nothing, is that there's a lot on everyone's plate, and that is just circling through your mind. And if it's not in some very organized system, I think it's extremely easy to get pulled out. And because if you're trying to enjoy nature, but you know that there's 17 things you need to do, and this structure of the system is like it's there, but like you're not really fully utilizing it. Like your brain, because you want to achieve what we want to achieve, that's inside of you, and that's what you're defaulting. That's what you're defaulting to, and your brain's like, but don't forget about these 17 things. Like I know you want to. The waves are cool, but like these 17 things are also super important.
You have to take care of those.
You keep getting pulled back into it. So for me, having a really organized system is the best way I can stay present.
A really simple trick. Go ahead, Lucas.
So I was going to say, like, what Brad said is very, very accurate. And luckily for me, I knew that because I experienced it before, like a long time ago. So whenever I go surfing, whenever I go in nature, I don't have anything to do. I mean, we always have stuff to do, but I don't have anything in my list. Like everything has been tested, everything has been pushed. All the stuff that people are waiting on me has been done. So that's not the thing for me, at least. But Brad is very, 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 very accurate though. Like if you want to have like a peaceful time somewhere in nature, for example, you need to have those like, all the stuff that needs to be done in the back of your head done before you go do that. Otherwise, it's always going to be behind you, like just there.
It's easy to, even if you have, and I know you're super organized, but even if you're super organized and you're utilizing your system to like 85% of its capacity, you're still going to have that little bit, that 15% that's sort of lingering, and then it's easier for your mind to get pulled out and go back to those things if you're not like fully 100% on it.
100%.
Kennedy,
sorry, Kennedy.
You were gonna say
Oh yeah, I was gonna say a really simple trick that I was taught a long time ago is a lot of times when we can't be present in a moment that we're really attempting to be present in, it's because we're not actually activating all 5 senses. So like in terms of what you were referring to, Lucas, where you're sitting at the beach and you're trying to actually enjoy the beach that you're sitting at, but you can't, literally find 5 things that you can hear, find 5 things that you can touch, 5 things that you don't taste anything maybe, but like 5 things that you could taste, and like actually,
I love the ocean water.
like the salty air tastes like something. Literally find 1 to 5 things that you can actually tangibly interact with one of your 5 senses, and it actually immerses you in whatever wherever you are presently, because we think presently with our senses. So that's a trick that I've always used.
And make sure you're not
very interesting
to touch something.
Yeah, don't touch your phone, touch the sand, touch the water, whatever.
That's exactly what I need to I need to try to like leave my phone away. I mean, this is one of the things that I love the most about surfing, is that whenever I go surfing, there's no devices, there's no humans, there's entirely nothing, just you and nature, and this insane amount of energy that comes towards you. That one wave that you're gonna catch probably travel like way more than your entire life. That wave probably traveled the whole, like, probably from actually New York up to me in France. And I find it absolutely amazing to just disconnect from all that noise around you and just be in nature. And this is the same as with Brad. Whenever Brad is golfing, he's focusing only on that, smashing that ball or whatever you said. And whenever I go surfing, I just focus on like catching that one wave and trying to survive as well. Because it's sometimes it gets rough, and yeah. Anyways, that's actually really interesting, Kennedy. I'm gonna try tomorrow to practice that, because I see the value in it. I get why, like, touching stuff, to try to focus your mind only on like, okay, the goal right now is to touch that, do this. Like, you're focusing your mind on interacting with whatever is around you, instead of just sitting there and letting your mind just pick whatever comes to your, to your mind.
Another important aspect of cleaning up your mind, in my experience, has been cleaning up your physical environment. So cleaning your entire house, which includes all the closets, are apparently actually have a pretty big impact on how organized your mind is. If you go through your whole closet, and it's really beneficial to do this, especially for times of power, which are like equinoxes and solstices. So there's one coming up in 2 weeks. It's really beneficial to just go through your actual like whole closet, throw out anything you don't need, clean the whole thing, clean the whole house, like windows, just everything. One of the things I did a couple months ago was I had this big drawer in the kitchen that had like tons of condiments, of random just old salt and peppers that have expired like multiple years ago, and I just went through the entire like kitchen cabinets and just threw out everything that I would never use. So cleaning your physical environment definitely also has a big, and that includes your computer as well. Cleaning up your desktop, cleaning up your computer, all the files. So your desktop only has pretty much what you need almost every day. That also has a big, and having your inboxes, organized, like email and everything. All that stuff has a pretty big impact on your mental clarity.
Yeah, that's just the physical manifestation of the ambient anxiety, right? It's like all these things you haven't dealt with, and they could be as small as the salt and pepper packets that are in your cabinet, right? But there are things in your life that you haven't processed. They're thoughts, their ideas, their physical things, that you have no use for, but they're just kind of sitting there. They're just floating there, and you haven't done anything with them. They're there. That they're like probably not serving much of a purpose, but like maybe there's something in there that you might need. And like I think that's what creates the ambient anxiety. I think that's just like the physical manifestation of it. I think that's one of the most powerful parts of meditation is like taking those things. That would be like a moving meditation, like a cleaning meditation, right? You're like cleaning all the things out that you don't need anymore. It's kind of like what I feel like I'm doing when I actually meditate and close my eyes is like I'm processing my mental inbox.
Yeah, exactly. What you're doing physically, your subconscious would also be doing mentally, right? So every time I felt like off in the past, I would just start cleaning, and you just start feeling better after you just clean and organize everything.
Yeah,
you gain so much mental.
So like a fresh,
I
fresh start. Yeah.
Trip I was just on it. I'm like at my desk and there's crap everywhere, and like it always feel really good. Brad, do you want to try to keep these to an hour? Because I feel like we could probably riff on this for like hours, but it's up to you pretty much. So we should get excited for this one.
Yeah, we should probably keep these to about an hour because we could talk about this all night. But does anyone?
It can go on for like a crazy amount of time. I just have something to add. I don't know if I will be able to explain it correctly because it's very complex. Anything related to meditation anyways is very complex to explain because humans are very bad at, expressing feelings and things that you feel into words. And anyways, yeah, it's a tough one. But back to what Gio said is very, very accurate. Like I remember Brad being very very, very stressed, and just the fact of cleaning the drive and the computer made him so happy. And I think it's very, very, very important to have at least in my opinion, like having minimal stuff, having just the basics that you need. You need clothes, a laptop, a phone, a credit card, and that's it. I have nothing else. Obviously a car because I need to move around and achieve the stuff I want to achieve in terms of travel. But everything that I own, I use it. That's it. Like everything that I buy it because I'm going to use it for the next day or two. And I don't buy anything else. And I think it's very, very important to be a minimalist because all the stuff that you buy, you're going to get attached to. You're going to add that to your mind. And this is going to be in the back of your mind. But then at some point in your life, you're going to have to take care of it. So all the stuff you keep adding to your life are going to pile up and cause you stress, in my opinion. But people don't realize that they keep buying stuff because the society teaches you and pushes you to do so, because you have to compete with people around you and stuff like that. Anyways, it's a big rabbit hole. But I think Gio is very, very, very right on that one. People need to try to have less stuff than more. And it's funny because last time we talked about that, I was listening to a podcast about Elon Musk, and he's doing that at the moment. I think he just realized that he has too much stuff, and all those stuff around him is taking too much of his time, where his time and energy should be focused on his, goals in life, which are his businesses. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. So I mean, it seems like a pretty good place to wrap it up.
I want to share with you guys the meditation album that I was talking about earlier, that Jared mentioned real quick. So it's actually on Spotify. I would definitely recommend Headspace, if you've never tried meditating before, because it's a very pleasant way to get into it. But if you're interested in chakra meditation, there's an album on Spotify called The Land of Fire and Ice, which I actually use right now.
Land of Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
We can probably share that in the YouTube video as well.
Yeah,
Definitely will.
So there's 15 songs in the album. So I actually joined a meditation school earlier this year, and the way our meditation works is you focus on 3 primary chakras, energy centers in your body. You focus on the navel, which is about an inch below your belly button. You focus on the heart energy center, which is one of the the most easily felt ones, which is just right in the center of your chest, and the third eye, which is about between your eyebrows and a little up. So these are the 3 chakras that I meditate on every day. So in this album, the first 5 songs are for meditating on the navel chakra. The second 5 are for the heart chakra, and the last 5 are for the third eye. So that's how you can do that.
Start with your navel, then you go to your heart, then you go to your third eye.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is the intention is you're raising the energy up your spine into your head.
Right. Yeah, I do one thing I'll share with you guys if you want, but Dr. Joe Dispenza, he has a meditation called Blessing of the Energy Centers. And I do it every Sunday. It's like 50 minutes long. It's a pretty long one, but it's also, you're basically focused on all 7 of your energy centers for 5 or 10 minutes each. And he guides you through them, and you're literally by the end of it, you have so much energy in the top of your head. It's insane. It's really cool.
Well,
You should activate that pineal gland.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it does.
Share that
so
we can post that too.
What's really cool is the more you meditate on your energy centers, the more you can actually feel them. I can actually feel the energy centers very intensely when I'm meditating on them. So
that's pretty cool, because that's something I've been struggling as well. So that makes me happy. It pushes me to practice more to get there.
Yeah, the more you do it, you just start feeling it more and more. It's kind of like the way, there's a beautiful analogy earlier with working out. So the way, if you never worked out before and you start, for example, you do a lat pull down, maybe if you don't have lats, developed at all, you have no idea what lats are or what it's supposed to feel like. You can barely feel anything, but the more you do it, the more you start really feeling your lats, right? It's the same idea with the chakras.
This was super helpful, though. I really enjoyed this call.
Yeah, this is a great conversation. We'll do it every month, and I look forward to the ones in the future.
Yeah, thanks,
I'm
guys.
gonna clean up my space now. Already.
I'm actually gonna do one meditation as well.
Nice.
This is awesome, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
guys.
guys.
All right,
Have a good Friday.
Happy meditating.
Likewise, man. All right, see you guys.
Yeah.